what he has been doing. I think, General, for the bravery that you displayed on the 6th of July last year, you deserve to be commended. I know many people want to accuse us of favoritism. You are a police officer. You are not a prosecutor. You are not a lawyer. I mean, you are not a lawyer. You are not a magistrate. You are not a judge. A constitutional and a statutory obligation of a police officer is to investigate and arrest based on prima facie evidence. In this country, we have prosecutors who have taken dockets on the basis that they have prospects of success. And when those dockets go to court and get withdrawn, and some don't make it in court because some cases get dismissed and so on, that does not mean that they do not know their job. So your job as compared to a job of a prosecutor and a judge is very minimal. So you must never be demoralized when people accuse you for what you did on the basis that we have not been able, as this committee, to prove some of the things further. You did what you were supposed to do as a police officer, and subsequently, because of what you did, some explosive revelations have been made here before this committee. If it was not for what you did, the country would have not known the deep-seated rot in our justice cluster. Our country would have not known that Begicele, because it's an allegation that has not been challenged, received an amount of 500,000 from Matlala. Since that allegation was made, Begicele has never contested it. So it remains the only version that is at our disposal. If it was not for the bravery that you expressed, we would have not known the deep-seated rot and the shenanigans that are finding expression in IPIT, because the overwhelming evidence presented here shows that IPIT, to a greater extent, has been captured and has been criminalized. We would have not known the shenanigans that are happening at ITEC. We would have not known the extent at which the relationship between Mkhwanazi and the Matlala, the extent at which their relationship impacted with the running of SAPS. So I'm saying for all those things because we shouldn't behave like here you have a responsibility of being a police, a prosecutor, and a judge at the same time. You're a police officer. And on top of that, you are a human being. So if there are mistakes that you made during your press briefing, that cannot be used to characterize you as a dishonest person. That cannot be used to characterize you as a person who lacks credibility. You did what many people have been wanting to do, but because of fear for their jobs and for their lives, have not done. So this country must commend you for that. Because this country, or the justice cluster and the security cluster in particular, is highly compromised. And that has been expressed as evidence before this committee. So you must go to your home from this parliament. You must go to your family, knowing that you did the best for this country by what you did on the 6th of July. Thank you, sir. So I thought it's important, General, and I'm saying this without any fear of contradiction. Many things have been exposed here. All those things were not going to be exposed had you not taken upon your shoulders to go to the media briefing on the 6th of July, 2025. General, my observation and my conclusion about the National Commissioner, General Masemula, is that to a certain extent, he also abdicated his responsibility with regards to the disbandment of the PKTT. If I can use a silly language, I can say he also slept on duty because he was on leave. A decision is taken by the minister. When he comes back, he does not contest it. He implements the directives. He even goes to an extent of making a presentation in Parliament about and they start to implement a plan, a post-disbandment plan. So don't you feel that as a matter of principle, the National Commissioner also is to be blamed for this? Because if he knows his constitutional powers, he should have not allowed that decision. He should have contested it right on the spot. He should have said, no, Minister, you do not have powers to do this. We're not going to implement this. So don't you think this is a fair criticism? I mean, if I was a National Commissioner, I was not going to allow the minister to do what he did. I was going to tell him right in his face that, Minister, you don't have constitutional powers. I am the only person who is the accounting officer here with operational responsibilities. So the National Commissioner as well participated indirectly in violating the Constitution. What is your take on that?
Honorable Member, the National Commissioner and myself are different. His approach on things will not be the same as me, and I'm sure yourself as well. Someone will have asked me, why do you go out public and make these pronouncements that involves one of the things was spoken here, presiding officers or judiciary? Why didn't you complain through the structures that exist? And my response will be, the procedure of complaint is there, but it was going to take long, and I did not trust the process. That's why I felt it is important for me to approach it in this fashion. The National Commission might say, in my approach of things, I was going to get into the same outcome as Jerome Mkhwanazi, but coming in a different way. Yes, I was frustrated, I must tell you that. Because for me, I needed action and action done fast. That's why I took it out of my own to phone the minister in January and to also send him a message in April. Because I felt that I need to engage him directly. But that was not successful. So I have engaged National Commission numerous times, pleading with him to engage the minister and even take it to the president. But of course, he will come back and respond. He's a person that's different than me. I'm sure you've realized that. He's a bit of a calmer guy, which is different than me. So I cannot say what he neglected his work by doing what he did. He might have not agreed with the minister, but not wanting to go directly. Perhaps that's why the reduced way of closing down the team, which is a winding down approach and so forth. And I must say, Honorable Chair members, that the likelihood is that had the minister granted me an audience in January when I asked to meet him, and perhaps the minister convinced me that although it's not immediately, but we might want to get rid of this so that we can move it like this, perhaps I would have agreed with the minister if he had that opportunity to sit down with me, listen to me, and we engage and we agree on how we should go about it. But that opportunity was not granted. So for the National Commission, he had an opportunity to engage with the minister, how they engage with each other, how he was able to persuade the minister to say, let's not shut it down immediately, let's have a plan of closing it. I cannot say he was sleeping on duty.
Okay. You know, General, when were making the explosive revelations that you made, the first thing that came into my mind is that was Pagolinyos. I don't know if you understand that language in Zulu. More Pagolinyos, ziyaphuma zonke zize kuwena. So that is why you need to hide your face. And that thought came from the prevalent fundamental decay within our institutions. Ukuthi kubolile, corruption is everywhere. And we have seen good men and women in this country trying to expose corruption with no success. Some have been victimized. Some have been killed. Abanye today, baneyintandane. I mean, baneyingane ezingenawo ama-breadwinners because they stood on the side of principle. So, have you not become vulnerable since the revelations? Have you not been attacked? Has your family not been affected by this whole thing? How are you surviving? Because even people who don't know you, they know you now. Some are characterizing you as a rogue individual. Some are saying you are a killer. Some are batu inkabi, we poison inkabi, and so on. And I'm sure that affects your family as well. So since the explosive revelations you made, how have you been surviving?
Yeah, well, I said before, and I will say it again, we all shall die, and nobody will live forever. It depends how you die as a person. I'm not much of a Christian. Christians tend to be afraid of dying a lot, and yet they pray. But I'm not necessarily worried about dying. If death gets me, it will get me. That's why I can still walk out here and play with explosives. That's why I can walk out here and do skydiving. That's why I can do, because anything can happen there, you can die. That's why I can still fly from one point to another, not being worried that the aeroplane will crash. So death will catch us all. But I must say, honorable member, that this action of the 6th, I took a conscious decision that I will stand for the truth, knowing that indeed my family is going to be affected. I can't easily walk around anymore with my children and enjoy sitting in a restaurant and having a meal because people come to you. You can't go and participate in any other place where normal human beings go to because people come to you. I'm the person that likes freedom. I don't like to be guarded all the time. That's why I've said, and I'm saying, those who might be planning something, they must move with speed if it happens.
Some are saying,
don't.
Some are saying, General, you did all what you did because you wanted to secure your contract. You wanted to be reappointed. What is your take on that?
No, that is not true. It has never been. When I took the decision to go to KZN is because I thought I'll do my bit and I leave the organization. So the organization approached me in December and said, we want you to stay. And then I had my own condition. First, I had to go and discuss with the family because it was never my plan to stay longer. But understanding the situation that we were in, I had to engage with the family and say, this is the request that is offered by the police. What do we do? And we discussed, and I went back to the National Commission to engage on that one. Hence, I'm still waiting for the decision from the National Commission in that regard. So okay. It's not me that applies. The law doesn't apply. Once you choose to become honorable chair members, I was sitting as a lieutenant general at the head office. And that employment was going to keep me there until I turned 60. But I voluntarily left that contract. And I took a 5-year contract with not a single cent in addition. I relocated from Gauteng to KZN because I wanted to come home so I can contribute in the safety of the family around where I live. So that after 5 years when I retire, I can live in a peaceful environment. So me going to KZN had nothing to do with the money or the contract. It was voluntarily. It's unlike a person who applies for the post of being a provincial commissioner. He goes for interviews, he gets a contract, And when a contract is coming towards an end, he wants to extend the contract. For me, it was different. I was a general already at this level in Pretoria for many years already.
Okay. You see, when I was listening you talking about General Khan, I was asking myself if this committee has done justice to comprehensively investigate at length the allegations that you made. And I was saying maybe we missed an opportunity because the manner in which we have described the role of General Khan requires that he comes before this committee as a witness, but he was not called. The unfortunate part about this committee is that it is constituted by representatives of political parties. So it is not driven by principles of objectivity and impartiality to a certain extent. Some people become overprotective of their party interests. Some become overprotective of their personal interest. As a result, or ipso facto, they compromise principle and they do not arrive to issues that were supposed to arrive to. They just scratch the surface, and some don't want the truth to be exposed. Do you feel, General, as the main complainant, because the reason why you are the only witness who has been granted an opportunity to come back is because we regarded you as the main complainant. Do you think this committee has comprehensively ventilated and investigated these allegations? Or we've just scratched the surface? I'm asking this because we have not called any. I know that you said you don't have adequate evidence in relation to the judiciary, but it's open secret that the judiciary is not a paragon of virtue. They also have their smallanyana skeletons, but none of them has been called to come here. Do you think we've done justice as this committee? Leave the Madlanga, but this committee, which is structured the way it is structured politically.
Yeah, well, in as far as the work that the committee has done, I was hoping that the reason for the minister to come up with the letter of the 31st of December was going to be investigated. Not just simple us being called here to talk about it, but I'm talking about a forensic investigation done from his gadgets, where this letter was compiled, his communications between him and his staff, Vusi Piccoli, that he made a reference to, that he shared this thing with, and those legal structures that are established to assist the minister, like the DG at Civilian Secretariat. So those are the things that I was hoping were going to interrogate it thoroughly. And I feel they were not thoroughly interrogated. There are 3 items that the minister raised on his letter. And the majority of the time the committee spent was on the first one. The second part of it is just moving below the radar. The third part of it, which is border security, it's even more of a concern for me because that's a gateway for the bad things coming to the country. And I don't think the head of committee have done justice to establish exactly what's happening there. I hinted on some weaknesses in these areas, but I thought the committee was going to even do inspection in loco for that matter to test what we're saying. Whether really are we that open in our borders that things can just come in willy-nilly and without being checked? So those are the type of things I would have expected the committee to do. The time you were given maybe was not sufficient. Perhaps going forward, different structures, different committees, depending on the recommendation, will dig deeper. Especially the portfolio committee on police will dig deeper to find out what are the things beyond this committee.
Okay, please bear with me when I cut you because there are questions that I would like to pose to you, and I'll be very flabbergasted if we finish without asking these questions. Evidence has been tendered here about the misuse of the so-called slush fund in the Secret Service account in crime intelligence. what is a systematic shortfall on how the slush funds are being run? Are there any gaps which are opening loopholes or which are opening a can of worms? And if there are systematic gaps which are attracting corruption to the Secret Service account, if they are, then how do we close them?
It's going to be difficult for me or a member to talk about Secret Service account because I'm neither a member of crime intelligence nor understand exactly the details of how they do business there. But one of the things that I picked up from the complaints I learned from the Divisional Commissioner, the Gerald Kumalo, and something I've learned when I was the Acting National Commissioner as well, was that the abuse of the resources becomes easier simply because there are these clandestine people that have been used. So a member is going to claim money on behalf of, and then that claim is paid, but that payment might not land to the person that is supposed to receive because of that system that they have within crime intelligence. Because they have to do things covertly. But also what became a weakness at the time which Gerald Kumalo was trying to close was that it is one individual trusted in decision-making to pay. So we came with control measures of putting a committee in place. It was aimed at trying to put some controls. But to go deeper to discuss issues of the crime intelligence or any intelligence community on how they operate, I'm not empowered to do that. I don't have necessary credentials to be able to discuss it.
Okay. When you were here, General, I asked you about Minister Senzo Mkhunu. I think the question that I asked is, do you have evidence proving that he is linked to criminal syndicates and drug cartels? And I think you gave a very fair response there too, because you said there are matters that you are still investigating surrounding him, and you have identified some trust account and so on and so forth. Now, General, my perspective here at this stage is that there is no adequate evidence that links him to criminal syndicates and drug cartels. Where we find him wrong is in relation to the decision that he took to disband the PKTT. It is my view. I can argue it for a couple of minutes, but because I don't have enough time, it is my view that it does not have constitutional powers, and neither does he has statutory powers to do what he did. But with regards to the other allegation, there is no adequate evidence proving it to be correct. What is your take?
I can't agree with you more, Honorable Member. I've said it before. I met the minister early in 2024, if I'm not mistaken, just before the elections. Elections come. The minister appoints chief of staff. It's a minister that I was introduced to as being the good man. So when a letter is written on the 31st of December, I feel I must reach out to the person that I was introduced to so that I can be able to warn him about the implication of this so that he can retract it. And I'm not granted the opportunity. So the events that follows thereafter, all the way up until I send him a WhatsApp pleading with him to meet so that I can be able to discuss this role of Mkhwanazi that has come to the picture and the Khan in them. The minister acknowledges that, but he still doesn't grant me that opportunity. And then other evidences that comes out, we then realize that minister was consciously aware about the intentions of the people that are rogue within the organization to shut down this team. To what extent did he know that they were going to shut down the team? For what purpose? I'm not sure whether we have the reason for that for now. This statement of someone that comes from prison that seems to suggest certain things, and the witness E at the Matlanga Commission that recorded the minister when he was pleading with him to give a statement, and the presentation the minister made here regarding the work study investigation, amongst others, it made me conclude that the minister is protecting people. He's using justification that does not exist. CFO disputed, everyone else disputed what he presents here as the reason for the letter. So it then leaves me with one conclusion. He was assisting the CBS, who in turn are assisting the cartel squad. So when you are assisting in that fashion, you might not be directly involved, but directly you are allowing the criminality to take place. So that is my conclusion. That's why I kept on saying, if he was honest, he was going to say, I was influenced by so and so and so and so and so and so. And you can easily forgive him for that. But he's not being honest about that. He says he's an author. If he's an author, then he gets into the constitutional question. What gives you the powers? That's what
Thank you, General. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.